Hey, this is Pastor Bunjee Garrett, and I want to take some time today to present you with another word of encouragement. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm personally excited to see how America is going to benefit from the many common sense executive orders that President Trump just signed after yesterday's inauguration. This, of course, includes the executive order which removes the United States of America from the globalist organization better known as the World Health Organization. According to this executive order, the Secretary of State and the Director of the Office of Management and Budget shall take appropriate measures to pause the future transfer of any United States government funds, support, or resources to the World Health Organization. And not only that, but the director of the White House Office of Pandemic Preparedness and Response Policy, well, they're now required to review, rescind, and replace the 2024 U.S. Global Health Security Strategy as soon as possible. One reason for this executive order is due to the fact that the WHO has mishandled the COVID-19 pandemic, which arose out of Wuhan, China, and they've also failed to adopt urgently needed reforms. And there should be no doubt that the leaders of the WHO have consistently allowed inappropriate political influence from member states like China. And case in point, the WHO continues to demand unfairly onerous payments from the United States while allowing China to contribute nearly 90% less, and this is despite the fact that China's population is 4.11 times greater than the USA. So yeah, President Trump is right to set us free from the World Health Organization. President Trump also ordered a 90-day pause regarding new obligations and disbursements of foreign aid funding, and this is going to give the Trump administration 3 months to reevaluate and realign our nation's foreign aid industry and bureaucracy in order to ensure that they actually are aligned with American interests. The programs that they discover are antithetical to our American values, well, they're going to be shut down. And I love this executive order because, listen, our federal government shouldn't be using U.S. tax dollars to send foreign aid to nations whose goals are antithetical to the foreign policy of the United States. Our national debt is currently $36 trillion, and it's growing every day. And at this point in U.S. history, we need foreign aid. We don't need to be sending foreign aid. So why is our government sending money we don't have to support nations that demand the destruction of the U.S.? This makes absolutely no sense at all. And so good job, President Trump. In the same vein, President Trump just signed several executive orders that pertain to our nation's borders. For example, one executive order which seeks to secure our southern border was created according to the Immigration and Nationality Act. And it's in the first section of this order where we read, and I quote here, "Over the last 4 years, the United States has endured a large-scale invasion at an unprecedented level. Millions of illegal aliens from nations and regions all around the world successfully entered the United States where they are now residing, including potential terrorists, foreign spies, members of cartels, gangs, and violent transnational criminal organizations and other hostile actors with malicious intent. Deadly narcotics and other illicit materials have flowed across the border while agents and officers spend their limited resources processing illegal aliens for release into the United States. These catch and release policies undermine the rule of law and our sovereignty, create substantial risks to public safety and security, and divert critical resources away from stopping the entry of contraband and fugitives into the United States." That's exactly right. The border policies of President Biden have allowed the enemies of America to easily invade our nation so that they can attack our country from within. And with all that being the case, President Trump has already put in motion a common sense policy which takes all appropriate action to secure the borders of our nation through the several means, which includes the establishment of a physical wall and other barriers that will be monitored and supported by adequate personnel and technology. They're going to detain, to the maximum extent authorized by law, illegal aliens who are apprehended, and then promptly remove all illegal aliens who enter or remain in violation of federal law. And while many are quick to share their concerns about those who are just here to, live the American dream, well, we must not forget that there is a legal way for foreigners to enter the USA. Sadly, Biden's border policies have allowed an untold number of terrorists and cartel criminals to enter our country. And it's for this reason that President Trump just signed an executive order which creates a process by which certain international cartels and other similar groups are designated as foreign terrorist organizations. Here's how the statement reads in the official executive order, and I quote them. The cartels functionally control, through a campaign of assassination, terror, rape, and brute force, nearly all illegal traffic across the southern border of the United States. In certain portions of Mexico, they function as a quasi-governmental entities controlling nearly all aspects of society. The cartel's activities threaten the safety of the American people, the security of the United States, and the stability of the international order in the Western Hemisphere. Their activities, proximity to, and incursions into the physical territory of the United States pose an unacceptable national security risk to the United States. That's right. It's time for the federal government to finally focus their efforts on the war that has been happening at our southern border for many years now. Listen, rather than securing our southern border, Biden instead spent more than $40 billion helping to defend the Ukrainian border. And with that being the case, I'm happy to hear that Trump finally signed an executive order which will bring us back to policies that put America first. For example, President Trump just signed the America First trade policy, which will reduce our nation's dependence on other countries to meet our key security needs. Here's how Trump put it, and I quote, Americans benefit from and deserve an America First trade policy. Therefore, I'm establishing a robust and reinvigorated trade policy that promotes investment and productivity, enhances our nation's industrial and technological advantages, defends our economic and national security, and above all, benefits American workers, manufacturers, farmers, ranchers, entrepreneurs, and businesses. Listen, this executive order includes a long list of action items which will most certainly benefit our country as our federal government begins to enforce America First policies. President Trump is also putting America first by signing an executive order that directs the United States ambassador to the United Nations to immediately submit a written formal notification to the Secretary General of the United Nations or any other relevant party of the United States' withdrawal from any agreement, pact, accord, or any similar commitment made under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. This executive order also revokes and rescinds the funds of the U.S. International Climate Finance Plan, and according to this order, the Director of the Office of Management and Budget shall, within 10 days of this order, issue guidance for the cancellation of all frozen funds. To sum it up simply here, the Secretary of State, Secretary of Commerce, and the head of any department or agency that plans or coordinates international energy agreements shall henceforth prioritize economic efficiency, the promotion of American prosperity, consumer choice, and fiscal restraint in all foreign engagements that concern energy policy. Great job, President Trump. It's time to end this reign of the globalist eco-fascists. Sadly, time would fail me to present you with all of the incredible executive orders which Trump just signed and will no doubt benefit our nation. This includes the cancellation of dozens of executive orders and actions from Biden administrations that hurt our nation. And Trump is also ending the diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in the federal government, and so say goodbye to DEI. He signed an executive order that confirms the gender binary at the federal level, and he signed an executive order that ends the federal censorship of American citizens. Here's how it's stated in the official executive order, and I quote, "The First Amendment to the United States Constitution, an amendment essential to the success of our republic, enshrines the right of the American people to speak freely in the public square without government interference." Over the last 4 years, the previous administration trampled free speech rights by censoring Americans' speech on online platforms, often by exerting substantial coercive pressure on third parties, such as social media companies, to moderate, deplatform, or otherwise suppress speech that the federal government did not approve. Under the guise of combating misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation, the federal government infringed on the constitutionally protected speech rights of American citizens across the United States in a manner that advanced the government's preferred narrative about significant matters of public debate. Government censorship of speech is intolerable in a free society. Now, I love this because, listen, every political leader here in the USA has sworn an oath of office, which includes the promise to protect our unalienable rights. And yeah, that includes our First Amendment right to the freedom of speech. Now, just in case you don't know, Americans have been given the God-given right to engage in the freedom of speech. It's a right from God that the government is sworn to protect. And according to our nation's constitution, it's our government's job to protect this God-given right so that we can exercise the freedom of speech. And here's how it's stated in the First Amendment of our Constitution, and I quote, "Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances." Sadly, President Biden and his administration, they failed to protect this God-given right. And now that Trump has returned to the White House, we can rejoice in knowing that he's already created this executive order that reconfirms this God-given right for every American citizen. As a Christian in America, I'm grateful for a president who's ready to protect my God-given right to spread the gospel message of Jesus Christ so that sinners might be saved. And listen, if you're a Christian, I encourage you to take advantage of our First Amendment right by looking for every opportunity to preach the good news about our Savior, Jesus Christ. And as we do, the Lord will empower us so that we can fight the good fight of faith, and all for the glory of God.